Okay, the first step in getting to the blower motor is to move your your radiator reservoir over. I left that hose attached just to keep coolant from going everywhere. And I just kind of folded it over with the hose still holding it until I get the new hose at the auto parts store. But this just slips off the bottom. It's just like some kind of a vent. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall that and use that, because what it might be doing is keeping really cold atmospheric air from mixing in to the weather box. So I wouldn't throw that out, guys. And these electrical connectors should just pop off. Oh yeah, they're not 30 years old and rusted and brittle. Okay. Oh, look at that, we got lucky. It came off presumably with no damage. Oh yeah, let's do this. Let's show you why we're doing this. I forgot to do that part. Unless we just pulled that connector out of its base. We'll see. This is the horrible. I don't know if you can hear it. Noise was way worse than that. It was nasty bad. But now it's not so bad. It's just spinning the motor without actually spinning the fan blades. When the fan blades were coming off and it was first starting to fail, it sounded bad. So that's why we're changing it. Alright, so now that you heard the noise, it used to be that rotor was just spinning around the motor shaft and making all kind of racket. Now it doesn't make any racket at all. If I had done this sooner, it would have been possible maybe to put a nut back on the end of a shaft, or washer it up, space it up, epoxy it up, who knows. There's all kinds of different options to get that fan blade stuck back to that shaft and keep it working. But now it's not making any noise whatsoever, which means it might be totally gone. So you see what I'm just doing here, guys. I'm just going around getting all the bolts out. I don't have my electric ratchets here. I don't keep good tools here. They're good tools are all at work. Just using hand tools. So I'm going to turn the camera off, get all these screws out. Okay, once all the screws are off, that just popped out in my hand. I would silicone that on reinstallation. When you put your new one back in, I would silicone it. You want to seal there to help it drive. If it's leaking a lot of air around that flange, it's going to reduce the efficiency of the fan. Well, we figured out why it was making a hell of a lot of noise and then none whatsoever. Here's what happened. This was fracturing and failing, and as it was rotating in a bent, wonky way like this, what I heard is a horrible noise with all that racket in there like that. Well, it finally completely let go. And it would completely let go. Now all you hear is this turning. Okay? This motor actually still works. I just need this part on the end. So I don't know if you can buy that separately. But look at that bearing. That bearing gave up too. That bearing's going to continue to make noise and fail and rattle around. So even though the motor still works, look how clean those stator windings are. Or armature windings are, rather. Armature. Let's just get a new one. I think they're like 30 bucks or something. I think they're expensive. So let's take this to the auto parts store, see if we can find a match for it. And well, we can drive the van. We can drive the van to the auto parts store to do this. We just don't want to turn the heater on or the defrost on while we're driving. But that's okay, we don't need them today. So, all right, we'll just set this back over here. And we'll just put that little wire clip back in there, and we'll just drive it down the road like that and get a new one. I could weld that flange up. I could tack weld that stuff and make that run again, but for $30, $40, $50, whatever they want to charge me for a new one. It ain't worth it. See you in a few minutes. Okay, guys, they couldn't get the part today because, you know, who stocks parts for a 30-year-old Chevy van? I don't blame them. But there are plenty available in local warehouses, so tomorrow morning we'll get our blower motor and we'll wrap it up. But in the meantime, we're going down the road in our Chevy van. Okay, guys, it is the next morning, and they did get the part in this morning as they promised. Here we go. I don't think it's made quite as strong as the other one. From a motor perspective, it's a cheaper part. It was made in China. It's only like $30-something. I actually tried to buy a more expensive one. I said, well, can you sell me one that costs $60, $70, US or Japanese made or something? And they said, no, that's all they could get me. So I had to chimp out and buy Chinese because that's all there was, even though I was willing to invest in a better part. But, you know, it looks like it's going to fit, it's going to work, and it's going to certainly probably outlast the rest of this old girl. It'll probably outlast the rest of the Ghost. So, all right. This one has two places to put the vent, because I'm guessing that makes it able to fit more models. The original one that came off was specific to this van. So make sure you get it in there and clocked correctly. And I'm pulling the proper vent hole out and leaving this one closed. If you pull them both out, you're going to lose efficiency on the air exchange in your system. So don't do that. So installation's pretty easy. It's just a matter of putting it in like that, but of course I'm gonna, you know, seal around it, get some goo around the edges, Bond or Chrysler Mopar Black or whatever I have laying around the garage. Heck, for this, this isn't even a high heat application. You could use household silicone for that. You know, wouldn't matter. What's that little clip right there? Do you guys know what that is? That's a balancing tab. So they spun this thing, and they realized it was slightly out of balance, which they all are because nothing's perfect. And they put that little tab right there just to balance the motor on the shaft. So don't take that off. Leave it there. Centrifugal force as it spins, of course, will push it out that way. And it's got little, little metal teeth to dig into the blade, so it's not going anywhere. So, all right, I'm going to find some kind of silicone or Bond or Mopar Black or something to goop up around the edge here. And then we'll get it bolted in and turn it on. So this is funny, guys. I couldn't find any more Bond. I used it all up. Greg Abrahams will get a kick out of that. I used all the Bond up on the East Coast. But I did find some Yamaha grip cement, hand grip cement. And I don't use it for hand grips. I don't, because... Sorry, Honda. I love you, Honda. I love my Hondas. But you don't make a very good hand grip cement. It's not really good for gripping. If you're going to grip handlebar grips to motocross bars, use the Scott. If you're going to do road racing stuff, you're going to wire it after you slip it on with hairspray, probably would be a good way to go. Or you could also use the Scott glue there. But no offense, Honda, I love you, but your hand grip cement is not the best hand grip cement on the market. So I have this tube's been laying around for years that I haven't been using because it's not the best product for that application. So I'm going to use it for this. How am I doing, guys? Does that look acceptable to y'all? We'll let that dry a little bit before we bolt it up. I'll give you a rough idea how long I waited. I'll go see what time it is. And that way, if you try to use this particular product, you'll have a rough idea. All right, it's been about 15 minutes, and it started to tack up and form a, you know, a little bit of a sticky layer. What's going to happen if some of that stuff touches the blades? It's nothing. It's not going to have nearly enough strength. See, there's some of it right there. It's not going to have nearly enough strength to do anything. So if some little bit of this did drip down on the blade after you turned it vertical and it ran down, got on the motor and the shaft, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. I think it'll just spin and you won't see it because it'll be in the weather box. And down the road you go. So, alright, I'm going to let some of that thicker stuff dry up another 15 or so minutes. While that's happening, I'm going to go run a power cable from a welder so I can get ready to do the next video. Got some welding videos coming, guys. Okay, it's been about a half an hour. I went in the house and had a nice fish and vegetable lunch. Nice, healthy, lean lunch, because I'm a fatty. And threw a load of laundry in. And this has been sitting for a half hour like this. I think it's perfect where I want it to be. It's gelled up enough that it didn't stick to my finger when I touched it. But it has some size to it. It has a little bit of thickness to it, which is what you want for sealing, right? Let's see if we can get some footage of this. We're just orienting the entire assembly to go back in the exact same way it came out. Okay, the switch was towards the top and the vent hole was towards the bottom. I didn't push it up against the wall yet because I didn't have my screws ready. I didn't have my alignment. You want your alignment to be pretty well done when you do the part where you actually stick it on, because you don't want to scrape all your stuff off and smear it all around and lose the thickness effect of it. There's two holes back there spooging. I don't know which one is the actual. Oh, that was very inconvenient. Don't cuss. Kids are watching. Dang, damn it. Let me turn the radio off, camera off, and find my tool. Another 7mm socket in my handy dandy Toyota emergency box. So what we're trying to do here is see which one of these two screw holes takes the screw. Yeah, it's this one. It's taking it. It's taking it. So I'm going to use that. And then this fifth and last one goes. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. You probably can't. But watch as I torque this down and get that bolt to, or screw, to pull into the weather box. Watch what happens with the spooge. Watch it squish out. See it pushing a little bit out? That's what you want, guys. You want it pushing out a little bit. That's how you know. That's how you know you got enough in there to seal. Okay, it's all bolted in, guys. I do think I timed that glue perfectly because it's running in the thick spots, but those lighter spots are not running. Those lighter spots are not dripping down. And I think what that means is it's not going to drip out of there, and we're going to maintain a good seal. So, alright guys, I'm going to get this thing hooked up and we'll go from there. When you're doing these ground tabs like this, you got to realize how hokey and cheesy that is. The only thing that was grounding this out, the ground wire was spaded onto here from the wire harness of the van, and this was sheet metal screwed in to, basically that metal's so thin it ain't holding anything, so that sheet metal screw was in the plastic of the weather housing. But you got to have enough metal exposed and paint removed to get a good ground. So it's amazing to me that through all that rust and through all that rust, touching like that, it was grounding and running. It was. But we don't want to have any failures in the cold weather. So what we're going to do is we're going to test to make sure this screw's got a good hold in that hole, or can get one. Yep, it can. It's resisting me a lot to try to force that in because it's dragging on that metal, so I think that's going to work. But we gotta scrape the paint off here pretty good, and then clean the back of that so that we can actually get ground off the motor body. So I scraped the paint off there. I just used it like a chisel. Now I can go touch this up on a grinder or a sander or something, but for you guys out in the world working in a parking lot stranded somewhere, watch this. Just take it on the ground, right on the asphalt. This is my driveway, but you can do it anywhere. Look at that. You could do this on the asphalt at the back of a Walmart if you had to get back on the road and get going again. Okay? So just scrape it right on the ground and clean it up. That's the dirty side. That's the clean side. All right. Okay, I don't want to over torque that because it's just in the plastic. I want it tight enough to maintain grip and good ground, but I don't want to rip those threads out because I'd have to tap drill another hole somewhere and start over. So just very gently in the plastic there. And then if your blower fan motor ever quits working, you pretty much know what caused it, right? You pretty much know. Now you know your hot one's going to be the one that's better insulated, so we know that one's going to be hot. And we know that ground's just going to clip on there like that. Okay. We know we don't want those wires grounded out on each other. We're going to bend that tab. There you go. You don't want them wires rubbing into each other. All right. Got the key on. Got it in heat mode. There you go. She's blowing nice and quiet, guys. I mean, you could probably hear it in the camera. That's low. And that's high. So, she's working. Alright. She's flowing air. Oh, I put my finger in that little hole in the bottom and zipped it on the stator. Got to put the vent back on. Where'd I lay the vent? Oh, right here. So this vent goes back on here. I'm going to do that with the engine, the key off, because it is turning. When I stuck my finger in there, I zipped the back of my finger on the back of that stator winding. Didn't get hurt, but that was a dumb thing to do. Don't do that. All right, make sure your little vent is in there. Yep, that's in there now. And then I pop this in on there. Just sits there just like that. All right, we'll put the coolant bottle back, and that's how you put a blower motor in, guys. Wear your helmets. Be safe.